I don't know if you've ever been fishing and you just cast again and again and again all day, maybe all afternoon, whatever, and you caught nothing. That's the worst, isn't it? Well, that's exactly what happened to Peter in the story. He had been fishing all night and had caught nothing. He was pretty frustrated. He was pretty deflated. And a lot of times that's a little bit how life can feel. Like we just kind of are fishing and fishing, and it feels like sometimes life comes empty, our nets come up empty, and we have questions about, God, where are you? Why? My plan didn't work out. My future isn't what I expected. But this one phrase that Peter speaks in this passage changes everything, because you say so, and watch how his story changes, and watch how your story could change as well. Thanks for joining us on our next episode of Crossroads Online.
Everyone, welcome to Crossroads Online. My name is Barrick.
And my name is Evan, and we just want to say thank you for joining us today. If you are new here, we would love to get connected with you. So you can text here to that number on the screen. That way we can get you connected with our Crossroads community and keep you up to date with all the events that we have going on here. But if you're not new here, we would love if you could click that share button and share this with a friend so that they can join you in the service and watch it with you.
Absolutely, and we are in week 2 of our really great series called Follow Jesus. We're really simply asking the question as a whole church community, are we following Jesus?
Now, Barrick.
Yes.
We have some events coming up. Okay?
Yes, we do.
Now today specifically, the food drive starts.
Yeah.
Okay, and we make it really easy for you to
Yes.
kind of partner with us in this. And so we have an Amazon link in the description just for you to click and help us and donate some stuff that we need for the food drive.
Absolutely. We
And
also
also
have...
We have this really cool thing.
Yeah, we do.
This really amazing thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Olympics, middle schoolers, colored powder, dodgeball, capture the. It is so many fun games. Okay, just
great.
for middle schoolers. Okay, it's called Color Wars. It's going to be a great time. And so if you are interested in that, or you have a middle schooler that might be interested in that, make sure to go to our website where we have everything, every event that we have coming up there, along with the signups and more information.
Absolutely. And now, in a world full of noise, we want to pause and lift our voices to our Creator and worship God. And so we're going to move into a time of worship now. So worship with us.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. We pour out our praise to you only.
Well, my name is James Belt, and I go to the Westminster campus, attend the Westminster campus at Crossroads. I started going to Crossroads actually right at the beginning in 2002. My journey in Nicaragua actually started way back in 2006. Crossroads was planning this trip to go down, and kind of never imagined myself as a mission trip guy. You know, I thought maybe I'd go on a mission trip or something of that sort, but never wanted to be a missionary, never really imagined myself doing that. Over the next year, they convinced me to go in 2007, the summer of 2007, to Nicaragua. And so I ended up going on my first trip, started to fall in love with it, although still never kind of feeling like it was going to be a part of my life for the long term. That changed in the spring of 2008. My parents came to me and my sister, and they said, hey, we really feel a pull to adopt one of the girls that lives in Puente de Amistad. I started to become more interested in what difference can I make there. I was starting to meet people and really get to know people in Nicaragua and get to know not just their name or that they were just these people that lived in this foreign country, but that they had a story, and that their story was much like mine, that they were as smart as me, they were as capable as I was, but yet they were stuck in poverty. You know, we often think that serving like on a mission trip or in certain environments, that there are specific things that fit that mold. But oftentimes God gives us gifts and abilities and experiences that we can use, and He gave us that specifically so we can make a difference in someone else's life. I would often just spend time with the boys at the orphanage, and we would go play soccer, and then we would go on hikes through the community. And on one of these hikes in El Cañón means the canyon, we hiked up one of the hills that sits on top of the canyon, and we're out there and the kids are running around me, and I'm just kind of looking over this scene that's pretty. Wind's blowing in the distance a little bit there, and just without really trying, I had this thought that came to my head. Where are you going? It wasn't anything I was thinking about. It was really, I feel like now, God kind of speaking to me in some form. And I started to explore what it meant. What would that look like for me? Did I actually feel a call from God to move to Nicaragua, to take that step forward? It really became clear that God was telling us, well, what we want you to do is to bring hope to others, to bring what I like to think of as all-in hope. And that's, practical hope, a real opportunity for people to use their God-given gifts, and a reframed identity, being able to see yourself the way that God sees you, as loved by God and created on purpose and for a purpose. In taking that step, it's really changed my life, not just for those 3 years I was in Nicaragua, but moving forward. It's put me in a position to say, yes, there really is life in taking those steps. It was a life-changing thing. It was disruptive to my life, but it ended up producing more life than I could ever imagine. My name is James Belt, and I took a step to follow Jesus.
going to take a look at what it means to actually follow after Jesus, actually to accept this call when Jesus says, come and follow me. Because just think about this for a second. I know it sounds a little obvious, but if you're actually following someone, you have to move where they're moving. You kind of have to walk at their pace. You have to take steps in their direction. Now, that's really obvious if you're walking with someone or following someone on a sidewalk, or in a park or something like that, but it's less obvious in our faith life what that actually means and what that looks like. But here's what I want you to see. A lot of us, sometimes what we kind of do is we just kind of stand in the vicinity of Jesus. We stand still and we kind of are like, I like Jesus, but we're not taking steps with Jesus. We're not really walking with Jesus. We're kind of standing still. We just kind of year in, year out, month after month, day after day, kind of standing in the same place, doing the same thing. Jesus is okay. We like Jesus, but, I'm not actually taking steps towards him. And if that's you, and that's easy to get there, that's more like Christian loitering than it is actually following Jesus. And so here's what I want us to see today. I think it's so important, is that if you want to follow Jesus, it means we need to take steps. If you're following someone, it means taking steps. Just think about it like this. Like if someone says, hey, let's go to a coffee shop. Follow me, I know the way. And if you're like, okay, sounds good, and then you just take a seat at, the local bench or whatever, and then you just like their post whenever they get to the coffee shop, that's not really following that person. And in fact, actually, you're going to miss your morning coffee that day. You didn't do anything. In order to follow someone, you have to go where they're going. That's the same thing is true for Jesus. Another example, I think about my wife. Right after we had kids, she decided she wanted to get back into running. And so she decided she was going to get out, and the first time she took a run, the first run was pretty tough. You don't run for a while, it's pretty tough. You get out the door and you just try to take a couple first steps. Run a half a mile, whatever you can do. And then eventually she built up and she went and she ran a 5K. And now my wife's crazy. She runs half marathons before she goes to work at 5 a.m. sometimes. She's going to be doing a marathon here at the end of the month because she built up, but it started by taking a step. She couldn't just sit at home and say, I like the idea of running a marathon. She actually had to get out. Shoes on, out the door, even when it wasn't convenient. If you want progress in your faith, if you want to look more like Jesus, if you want to follow Jesus, it means you have to take steps. And so we're going to take a look at what Jesus asked people to do, take steps here over the next couple weeks. And we're going to look at one example in particular that I think is absolutely incredible. What a powerful story. This is the story of Peter, the disciple Peter's first encounter with Jesus. And watch how Jesus asked him to take a step. Jesus says, you want to follow me? Want to be my disciple? Take a step. This is what we see, and watch it unfold in Luke chapter 5. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, which is also the Sea of Galilee, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught his people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into the deep water and let down the nets for a catch. Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. You can imagine the scene. There's so many fish. Other people were having to try to come and help them out. And they came and filled both boats so that they were so full that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, Go away from me, Lord. I'm a sinful man. For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, and Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, here's an important line, don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people. So they said they pulled their boats on shore, and they left everything, and they followed him. What an incredible picture. what a picture of what it means to follow Jesus. See, I think Peter gives us a process of what it looks like to follow Jesus in this passage. And I want to take a look at this process. And here's the shift that Peter makes as he walks through this passage. The first one thing is this, is that faith moves before it makes sense. I mean, that's what Peter did. And then seeing Jesus changes me. It changed Peter. And then following means leaving. Those are three things that I think are so important for us that we can't miss in this text. And so let's take the first one. Let's start with the first move. Faith moves before it all makes sense. You know, what's amazing about this story is that it doesn't begin with a big miracle. It doesn't begin with, a crazy moment, really. It just begins with this request from Jesus to do something that on the surface didn't really make that much sense, actually, right? Put out into deep water, let down the nets for a catch, and Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I'll let down the nets. I'm not a great fisherman. I'm going to be honest. I'm a part-time fisherman. I like to get out there and try every once in a while, but I can promise you, as a part-time fisherman, I feel their frustration here in this moment. I mean, it's like they're fishing and fishing and fishing all night long. They're fishing, and they've got nothing to show for it. I mean, that is a frustrating day out on the water fishing. And a while back, this past summer, I had a chance to take my son on a fishing trip, and I was really excited. We were going to go fly fishing out of Penn State. I even got a guide that was going to take us out there and show us the water and where to go and give my son some tips or whatever, fly fishing. And we went out and fished all morning long, cast after cast, time after time. We were casting. My son was doing it all right. He was doing a great job. And both him and I, and even the fly fisher guide, caught nothing. In fact, the fly fisherman guide kind of pulled me aside and he was like, hey man, I just want to let you know, you guys are fishing great. Your son's been incredible, but it's just been a bad day on the water. I feel bad. If you don't catch anything, I just want to let you know I can give you like a refund or whatever, because this is like very strange. The water's really bad right now. And I was kind of, frustrated to the point where I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But then the guide says, hey, let's just go up a little further and let's try it up here. I think it's harder wading. I think it's going to be a little tougher to get up there, but I think it might be worth it. And after just a little bit, my son casts his line and he pulls up this giant trout and he's fighting this thing. And eventually he pulls up, and I have this picture. This is my son and I, and this is his first trout that he caught out fly fishing with me. What an incredible fish. And the guide even says that was one of the best fish that he had seen in the last couple months. But I love this idea in this moment, after all of the struggle and after all the frustration, this one moment changed everything. And for Peter, he was kind of in a similar spot of frustration. All the guys that were fishing, they had tried and tried and tried. They were like, that's it, man. We're packing up our bags. We're going home. Like, they had already washed their nets. I mean, that means they're like ready to go. Pack up the stuff. Forget it. Game over, guys. We're going home. They're done. And then Jesus, think about this. Jesus, who was a carpenter by trade, who turned into a rabbi here, is giving these professional fishermen fishing advice. I mean, I'm sure that's going over real well. I mean, I can imagine the looks right now. Okay, here comes the carpenter rabbi telling us how to fish. Jesus, don't you know? I mean, we're out here every day, man. We know how to fish, dude. What do you think? And so this whole moment is counterintuitive. The advice that Jesus gives is counterintuitive. The conditions weren't ideal. From a human standpoint, this makes no sense. What Jesus is saying, what Jesus is asking them, makes no sense. And this is why I think it's really interesting, Peter's response. He says this, Master, look, we've worked all day, all night, haven't caught anything. You can hear the weariness in his voice. But then what follows is this incredible line, because you say so. Because you say so. I don't know how he said that. Maybe it was with a little bit of frustration, exasperation, maybe even a little bit of sarcasm. I don't know. Or maybe it was just he had no other choice. Like, I guess I could try it. Why not? Because you say so. This one line is the hinge to this whole story, and it listen, it might be the hinge to your whole life, this one phrase, because you say so, Jesus. Peter doesn't understand it. He's not convinced it'll work. He's not feeling particularly inspired. He is a little tired by fishing, but he's willing. And sometimes that's the way faith starts. Sometimes that's what faith looks like. It doesn't look like all the time certainty and excitement. Sometimes it just looks like obedience, even when it doesn't make sense. Peter, here in this story, takes this step, puts down his nets before it made any sense to him at all. And that's faith. That's what faith looks like. And this is where so many of us live, though. We live in the same struggle because we go through life a lot of times and it feels like, I'm fishing, God. My nets are coming up empty. I don't know what to say. Like I've been fishing for a while, and so much of life, like that's the story of life a lot of times, is like, God, I feel like I've been fishing and my nets are empty still at the end of the day. I mean, life is filled with all kinds of empty net moments, right? I mean, you go to college, you do all the right things, you come out of college and it's like, wow, the job's not here that I was told was going to be here waiting for me. Or maybe, you take a step and you decide to get married, but the marriage falls apart and it's not what it seems and it didn't live up to your expectations, and maybe the person disappoints you. Your nets feel like they came up empty. Or maybe you just build a life, build a career. Everything's been going well, but then at the end of the day, you feel like life is hollow. You're not sure why. It feels empty. And sometimes even in our faith life, sometimes it feels like, God, I've been checking the boxes. I'm doing the things. I still feel like you're distant. I don't know where you are, God. It feels like something's missing, something's empty. And we end up in our lives so often, with empty nets, with full calendars. And sometimes our soul just feels worn out in the process. And then this is the moment, though, that Peter's in. It's the moment that Jesus asks us to take a step. Not when it all makes sense, not when you got the whole story, but to take a step even when life feels empty, even in the middle of disappointment. And so let me just put it out there like this. I mean, if you're waiting for everything in life to make sense, if you're waiting for everything in the Bible to make sense, if you're waiting for Jesus to completely make sense to you before you decide to follow him and take a step, you're going to be waiting for a long time. Like, I'm just going to be honest. I've been following Jesus for more than 25 years. I still have questions. I still have doubts. There's still things that I don't fully understand. I still don't have any idea what God's doing in my life so often. And what I found again and again is that Jesus doesn't ask for perfect understanding. He's just asking for me to trust him. We all want to know, God, we want to know what's on page 10 while we're on page 1. Doesn't work like that. We want to know, God, like I'm on page 50. Can you tell me what's going to happen on page 100? And so often that's the expectation that we have. But here's the shift that I want us to see, because this is the shift that Peter makes. He moved from this to this. You don't follow Jesus because you figured out the whole story. You follow Jesus because you've decided to trust the one who's writing the story. Do you see the difference? So in that moment, when we finally get to that point where we say, I don't know the whole story, but I trust you, that's the moment where you can reluctantly, maybe for the first time, say, because you say so. Because you say so. That's the kind of faith that honors God. So let me ask, where is Jesus asking you to take a step, even before it all makes sense? Like another way to think about this is, where is your deep water? Where's your deep water? Like, I love how Jesus says, go into the deep water, because I think there's deep water in each one of our lives. Sometimes we don't even realize or recognize it. There's deep water in your life that Jesus is calling you to take a step into. And you don't need perfect confidence. You don't need full clarity, but you have to be able to say these words, because you say so. I'll take a step. I'll trust. I'll go. I'll do what you're asking me to do. That is what Peter did in this story, and it changed everything for him. And on the other side of this, incredible things happen. Let's take a look. This changed Peter's whole story. The second thing that I want to see is seeing Jesus changes me. It changed Peter. It can change you as well. This is verses 6 and 7. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. They signaled for their partners to come and help them. And they had so many fish that their boats began to sink. I mean, this is a big moment for Peter, right? I mean, if you've been a fisherman, you are waiting for this moment. You're waiting for the moment where, like, you go home and you tell your wife after this, you're like, you will not believe it. I caught so many fish, my boat was sinking. I had to bring the other boat over. It was crazy. I mean, this is the greatest catch in all of Peter's life. Boats are sinking. Business has never been better. This is the dream for a fisherman. And he's sitting there, kind of basically what he'd been wanting this whole time, right there in the middle of his boat. And you would think that at this moment, the natural response of Peter would be this, like, Jesus, man, you and me, we can go places. Like, we're going to start a new fishing company, Jesus. It's called Messiah Fishing Incorporated. Come back tomorrow, same time, same place. You just point the way. You could be like my little fish radar. Tell me the direction to go, Jesus, and I'll just do that, and we're going to do great. Like, we can scale this business. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to cut you in as a partner, I promise. This is going to be great. That's not what Peter does, though. Peter looks at the fish, at the breaking nets, at the sinking boat, and his jaw just drops. And he looks at all the fish sitting there, and he doesn't seem to care about any of it at all. He doesn't talk about a business plan. He hits the floor on his knees in front of Jesus. Verse 8, when Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and he says, "Go away from me, Lord. I'm a sinful man." This is the first time Peter calls Jesus Lord. Earlier, if you notice, because we read the passage earlier, he says, "Master, if you say so, I'll do it." Now, that first title, Master, is a respectful title, but this is a different title, Lord, he says there. At first, he was like, "You're a good teacher." And now he's saying, "What? You're holy, and I'm not, actually." Peter sees this moment, and he sees Jesus for who he is. And it realizes that this was never about the fish. This wasn't about the fish at all. This was about the one who was filling up the nets in the first place. In the process, Peter doesn't get this big ego, "Wow, what a great fisherman I am. This is incredible." No, this breaks him. It doesn't inflate him. It humbles Peter. And then he saw Jesus clearly in this moment. He realized who it was he was talking to. I mean, it was like the epiphany moment. The lights go on, like, wow, who am I talking to? This is incredible. And what looked like the biggest win of his life turned out to be a setup for a whole new life. And Peter's idea of who Jesus was shifts in this moment, and he calls him Lord. Huge moment. This is not just a title change, it's like a heart change for Peter. Let me take a look at these two words, the difference between master and Lord. He starts with master. I'll do it if you say you want me to. That's a respectful title, but now this is like a whole different identity. It's not just a teacher, it's a king. This is not just compliance. He has devotion to Jesus. He's not just committed, saying, "I'll listen, I suppose." He's committed. He's not just curious, "I'll listen." He's committed, "I will follow." It's a whole life surrender. And so the difference between these two titles, Master and Lord, speaks, and the shift in language that Peter used speaks to the shift that's happened in his heart. And this is what happens when you actually see Jesus, like Peter did. Like when you truly see him, when you see his power, his grace, his presence, you don't just feel amazed or kind of impressed. You feel like broken inside, undone, like Peter was here. When you see Jesus for the reality of who he is, and then we can see who we are. And I think Peter's response says so much. It's actually kind of an odd response to like a big fishing catch. Like, you got all these fish. He's not like celebrating the fish. He says, "Go away from me, Lord. I'm a sinful man." Jesus responds, "Don't be afraid." Don't miss this. Jesus isn't trying to shame Peter. He's calling him up. He's calling him into a purpose. He's not pushing him away. And this is so important. I mean, it's not that Jesus disagrees with his statement. It's not like Peter's like, "No, you're not sinful. You're not. What are you talking about? You're a good guy, Peter." Jesus doesn't say that. He essentially says, "Yeah, okay, I hear that, but you're still called. I still have something for you." And so this humility that Peter shows us here, this isn't like self-hate. It's not spiraling shame. It's an awareness that God is in his presence that leads to an availability in his life. And here in the presence of grace, Jesus gives Peter his first window into his new future, his new purpose, his new calling. He says this, don't be afraid. From now on, you'll catch people. Here's what I want you to see. Jesus does not just give Peter a new skill set. He gives Peter like a whole new why, a whole new purpose for life, a whole new reason. He doesn't say, you're done fishing. No, he meets people. He meets Jesus where he is, and he redefines it. From now on, you're going to catch people. This is way more than a change in job title. This is like a line in the sand. Your whole life looks different after this, Peter. It's the same hands that cast the nets, but he has a different purpose. You're going to be catching people. You're still fishing, Peter. You're still fishing, but you got a different kind of fishing you're going to do. You're going to catch people from now on. And now his purpose is different. His why is different. His direction is different. And the same thing is true for you and for me. When Jesus calls us, he might not be asking you to like do a career change, relocate. He might, but not always. But he does redefine the purpose that you do everything that you do. Like whatever career you're in, whatever you've got going on in your life, whatever your hobbies are, he wants to redefine those things so that they mean something. They have a deeper meaning, a deeper purpose. When you see Jesus clearly, you can't keep living the same. And so for many of us, we kind of feel stuck because, just like Peter, we're like, God, you can't use me. Jesus, you can't use me. Have you seen my life? I am sinful. Like I don't have this all together. I'm kind of a mess, God, actually. And we see our flaws and our failures and our inconsistencies, and we assume Jesus is just going to look at all that and move on. But grace doesn't do that. Grace meets us in the very place where we feel least qualified. That's what happened. That's what happens when you really see Jesus. That's what happens when you see the real, true Jesus. The point of this moment for Peter is not shame. Jesus doesn't shame Peter. It's transformation. Peter sees Jesus clearly, and it leads to clarity about himself. Suddenly he sees himself in a different light because he saw Jesus. I see myself differently. And he discovers he's not disqualified. He's being commissioned. Peter's not called because he's good. Peter's called because Jesus is good. Seeing Jesus is going to change you. If you see the true Jesus, it changes you. Not just the way you act, but it changes the way you see yourself, your purpose, your story, your future. And that leads to the last move that I see Peter make. It's a hard part of the decision. This might be one of the hardest ones, but it's also like the most exciting. Following means leaving. Following means leaving. I want to wrap up with this passage, Matthew 5:11. So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, emphasis on everything, left everything, their entire lives, and followed him. Think about how crazy this is. They just went up and left. This is the best day of their business. They could be doing well for a while here, and they're just like, nah, we're good. I'm with this guy. They left everything. They left their profession. They left their family. Not because they had failed, but because they had seen something better. This is the moment where their faith becomes real, because following is more than thinking differently. Thinking differently. Sometimes we think that's all faith is I'm just going to think different. No, it means living differently. It's about life-changing faith. You can't follow Jesus without leaving something behind, and that's what Peter did here in this story. Now, Jesus might not be asking you to, quit your job and sell all your stuff tomorrow. It does mean, though, that every one of us has something that we might be asked to leave behind. Something that you're holding on to right now. Peter was holding on to the nets. If Peter had held on to his net, he never would have had the future that Jesus had for him. And so we all have different things that we hold on to: comfort, control, identity, that Jesus eventually wants to ask us to lay down. That's what Peter did. He left his nets, which represented what? His livelihood, his back plan, his safe place, because he had this glimpse of a greater purpose and a greater reason for living. It's like way better than just fishing. Following means leaving. That's how faith works. And so listen, it's always a movement towards Jesus. If you're following Jesus, if you're taking steps with Jesus, it means that you're going to have to leave something behind. I mean, taking steps just inherently means you have to leave something behind in the process. And so here's what we're going to ask you to do, and we're going to talk more about this in the weeks to come. But this year, we've got to focus, and I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of a sneak peek on it. We're going to ask everyone, if you're following Jesus, that you'll grow deep and that you'll go wide. If you're following Jesus, we think that there's some deep steps that you could take and there's some wide steps that you could take. And every person that calls Crossroads home, we want to ask them to take one deep step and one wide step. And so I want to take a look real quick first, though, at the breakdown between what it means to be deep and what it means to be wide. What is a deep step and what is a wide step? As you're looking at this chart right now, you're going to see deep, Jesus in me. Deep is about Jesus in me, but then wide is about Jesus through me. Deep is the inward steps that we take, the heart, the habits, the holiness. But there's these wide steps. There's people, mission, and presence, the steps that we take out towards other people. Yeah, we have to grow deep in our faith. We have to grow our relationship with Jesus, but then we can't just stay there. We also have to go out into the world. Deep looks like trust, surrender, character, but wide steps look like serving, sharing, and inviting. And a deep prayer is Jesus, form me. A wide prayer, Jesus, use me. And here's why I want you to see, I think both deep and wide are so important. Jesus asks us again and again to not just take one step, a deep step, but he also asks us to take a wide step, because both of them are so important. One step is a step of a relationship with God, a deep step, and then another step is a step out towards other people, a wide step. And if you only have one side, if you only have the deep without the wide, then you're in trouble. I mean, like, for example, if you only go deep without going wide, you're going to become stagnant. You're stagnant. You know, like, you might be rooted in Jesus and spend a lot of time in the Bible even maybe, but if you don't ever step out and love someone or serve someone, then your life is fruitless. Like, you're missing the point. Or on the other side, if you're always wide without going deep, you're going to be shallow. Like, you might have all kinds of activities, serving in lots of different places. You might have been on 10 different mission trips. But if you don't have a relationship with Jesus in the process, you're unrooted. See, you need to be deep and you need to be wide. And that's exactly what we see here in the story, by the way. Think about it. At the start of this story, Jesus asked Peter to take a deep step. Cast your nets. Trust me. And Peter takes this deep step. He says, because you say so, I'm going to trust you. That's the deep step. But then at the end of the story, Jesus asks Peter to take a wide step. Now I'm going to make you a fisher of men. Come and leave and walk with me as we go and we fish for men. That's a wide step. And so this year, I'm just going to ask every one of us to take one deep step and one wide step. And then watch how Jesus transforms you in the process. So I want to give you one example this week right now of a step that you could take, that you could invite someone to church for the first time. Maybe this Sunday, over the next couple weeks, you could say, hey, we've got a great series right now. It's called Follow Jesus. It's been awesome. And you could be the invitation. Maybe there's someone in your life right now, friend, family member, coworker, someone next door neighbor, whatever it is. And it would just be the simplest thing in the world for you to go up and say, you know what, I've got a seat for you. I want to just invite you because we've got an incredible service, an incredible sermon that's happening at our church right now called Follow Jesus. You want to come with me next week? And I mean, that's it. One step, that's simple. One step could change someone's life, and we have no idea what hangs in the balance of it. And that might feel a little uncomfortable to ask that. Guess what? That's how steps feel. Just like it felt for Peter. It feels a little uncomfortable. It feels a little uncertain. Following means leaving. It means stepping into something new. And so for each one of us, take a deep step, take a wide step this year. That's the invitation. I want to close with this as we get ready to wrap up. When the disciples left their boats, left everything that they had to follow Jesus, think about it. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't ask Jesus for the full 10-year plan. They didn't leave because it was easy. They left because they had seen Jesus, and that had changed everything. And it all started with these 4 simple words: because you say so. And I think maybe about the first time Peter said this, which we just read in this passage. He was frustrated. He was tired. He was uncertain. Maybe even said it with a little bit of sarcasm. Certainly not a lot of faith. Because you say so. I guess we'll try it. Sure, Jesus. Why not? Fine. Okay, fine. I've been fishing all night, just so you know. But I'm willing to give it a try. By the way, this doesn't really make any sense, carpenter, but we'll give it a try. And yet, Jesus meets him right there in that half-hearted obedience, and everything changes, and that reluctance, everything changes. But here's what I want you to see. That same phrase that Peter gave us here, because you say so. I think Peter had to say that a lot throughout the course of his life with Jesus. I think about Peter on the boat looking at Jesus out on the water. And Jesus says, "Come out to me." And Peter somehow incredibly had enough faith to get off the boat and to walk on water. And in the process, he had to say, "Because you say so, Lord. Because you say so." And that same phrase again and again throughout his life, but I think his tone changed. And see, at the end of his life, tradition tells us that Peter was crucified for his faith, that he was willing to go to even die for his faith in Christ. And I can imagine, maybe underneath his breath as he's getting ready to face what he needed to face in that moment as he was being ready to be crucified, I can imagine Peter saying these same words, but maybe very differently this time. Because you say so. I'm going to go. I'm willing to do what it takes. See, church, every one of us, we have to leave something behind. Faith means leaving something behind. It means sacrifice. Peter understood sacrifice. This passage is a picture of it, and then his life in many ways was a picture of it as well. And so here's what we're going to ask for you to do. Where can you in your life say that prayer, because you say so, and leave something behind? See, every one of us, we have this card. We have it online as well. What is Jesus calling you to leave behind? Maybe it's fear or control or pride or reputation or comfort or security. There's so many different things that you could put in there. And for each one of us, it's going to look a little bit different. But Jesus, I promise you, is asking you to leave something behind. Faith means sacrifice. It means taking steps. And taking steps means leaving something behind as you take that step. And so as you fill this out in this moment, as you have a few minutes to do this, as we get ready for worship, as we get ready for offering in just a moment, as you fill this out, just in your heart, maybe quietly, pray the same prayer that Peter prayed. Or because you say so, I'm willing to take a step. Let me pray. Lord, thank you for your faithfulness that allows us to have faith. Lord, thanks for calling us into deep water, into uncertain water, and for being faithful in those moments. Lord, thank you for a plan and a purpose in our lives that goes well beyond what we could see, think, hope, or imagine. Or we can't see page 2.5, let alone page 10, and you know the end of the story before it ever started. Lord, you're the author of this story. You're the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. And so, Lord, we put our trust in you. We put our trust in the one who wrote this story, not because we understand it all, but because we know you and love you and trust the author that's writing it. And so, Lord, help us pray this same prayer that Peter prayed. Because you say so, I'll follow. I'll take a step. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hey, church, right now, a couple things are going to happen. First off, we have an opportunity for us to give back through tithes and offerings, just a portion of what Jesus has given us. This is another step that we can take, a step to give, a step to say, God, you know what? I trust you with my resources. I know everything that I have comes from you. Goodness, every breath that I take comes from you, and that you were willing to give so much for me, and I want to now give back to you a portion of it. I mean, I know that God wants to bless us with like overflowing nets, and so often it's just a step of faith that begins there. And so I know and believe that there's blessing coming on the other side of this. And so as you guys get ready to receive tithes and offerings right now, there's some information on the screen about how you can give. And then as you're getting ready to take that step, again, encourage you to take a look at that card as we get ready to have a moment to worship together, to respond in worship. This is a chance for you during this song to reflect in your own life and to fill this card out because you say so.
Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations, so why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. And I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense, so I won't be